we all like to be entertained. We're listening to lectures, we laugh, we joke, and we go away. It's this fantastic lecturer, like this and like that, and it's gone. But if you delve a little deeper into what the man has said, most especially with the references, and when you're checking it at a second time, whatever was said becomes a permanent fixture in your computer. And from there on, you can pass it on, and it becomes firmer and firmer in your mind. So where will you find it? I said Surah Maryam. And in the ordinary Quran that we used to read, the Arabic Quran, call it Mashab. I know as a child I've been reading through the Arabic Quran, Mushaf. And it was very difficult for me, my people, to find. Somebody says it's Surah Maryam. Where are you going to find Surah Maryam? We might get used to Yasin Sharif. Everybody says somebody is dying, you read Yasin, and occasionally Yasin, blessing. So we know where Yasin is. But the rest of the Quran, generally, the non-Arab Muslim, he can't put his finger on. That was my difficulty, and that's the difficulty of my people. When I tell them Surah Maryam, they can't find it. So we are at an advantage today, most especially in the West, that there is a Quran available. This one here by Abdullah Yusuf Ali. Abdullah Yusuf Ali. It's a monumental work. Around the 30s, this man from the Indo-Pakistan subcontinent, he had done this job. It took him 40 years to do this job. 40 years of his life he spent. And his language, his English, is so beautiful that a lot of English people, when they read it, they can't believe that an Oriental could have done this work. And you do not have to study Shakespeare or Milton to improve your English or your children's English. Consult this book. For English, the language, you don't have to read Shakespeare and Milton to improve it. Read this. This book has another big advantage in that at the end of this volume, there is a very comprehensive index. What do you want to know? Anything you want to know on your fingertips. You want to know about marriage and the M, you'll find marriage. 14 different topics under marriage, under that heading. What do you want to know? Divorce and the D, find divorce. Don't just go around and say talaq, talaq, talaq. Consult the book. Consult the book. Allah tells you. He revealed a whole surah. For salat, he didn't give us details. He said, look at the Prophet. For wudu, he didn't give us details. He said, look at the Prophet. For song, he didn't give us details. He said, look at the Prophet. Watch him, see him, what he tells you, you do. But for talaq, he wouldn't tell us, look at the Prophet. No. Which means he will have to divorce one of our mothers to show us how to divorce. So he goes out of his way to reveal a surah called Surah Talaq, divorce. But who knows about it? My people, I know. When the wife puts too much salt in the curry, or the samosas are too hot. So he tells his wife, he says, my mother used to make better samosas than these. So he says, why don't you marry your mother? So he says, talaq, talaq, talaq. Finish. Yeah, that's my people. I don't know about the Arabs, I don't know how they do it. But I know the Indian Muslims in my country, that's how we do. You get angry, easy way out. Easier than eating peanuts. You have to shell them. This you don't have to shell. Talaq, talaq, talaq. Job is done. I said, look, Allah Bari Ta'ala is giving you. He's taking the trouble. Whole chapter. But nobody seems to have read it. Nobody seems to have read it. So I said, open up. And the talaq, divorce, it will tell you how to do the job. You won't regret if you did it the way Allah wants you to do. You won't have to do that thing called halalu. Halalu, I don't know whether you people know what halalu is. My people know it, you see, in South Africa. So, what you want to know? Surah Maryam, the brother said Maryam. So under M, you find Maryam in italics. Every time a word occurs in the index in the italics, you know it is the name of a surah. You see Maryam, it says 19. So right, open chapter 19. I said verse 93, now it's easy to find 93. You see? So easy, wallah, everything on your fingertips. And this book is readily available. I took the trouble before leaving South Africa. I sent down 2,000 of these, deluxe editions, printed in Hong Kong. Wallah, printed in Hong Kong, imported into South Africa, and exported to London. And in South Africa, I give people money back guarantee. I says, you have 90 days, 3 months. You keep the book, you read the book, and you return it. Your money will be refunded to you in full, plus ₦1 extra for your trouble. That's the type of business I do. And alhamdulillah, I'm very successful. Otherwise, I won't be here. I'm successful. Right. So you see, this ayah in Surah Maryam, it was preceded by those other words, where Allah says, وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا. They say that Ar-Rahman, the merciful God, has begotten a son. So Allah reacts. So لَقَدْ جِئْتُمْ شَيْئًا عِدًّا. It's one of the most abominable assertions one can make. So تَكَادُ السَّمَاوَاتُ يَتَفَطَّرْنَ مِنْهُ. As if the skies are ready to burst. وَتَنْشَقَّ الْأَرْضُ. And the earth to split asunder. وَتَخِرُّ الْجِبَالُ حَدًّا. And the mountains to fall down in utter ruin. Such a horrible swearing they're giving Allah. This is it. Father and son relationship. Such a horrible swearing. That if the heavens had a feeling like you, emotions like you, the heavens would have fallen. And the earth would have split asunder, and the mountains fall down in utter ruin. But nothing happens to the Muslims. You know, it's an amazing situation. That Allah Ta'ala reacts in the strongest language that you can imagine. That if you want to swear me, if you want to abuse me, you can't abuse me anything worse than this. To say that I begot a son. Allah begot a son. Because begetting is an animal act. It belongs to the lower animal functions of sex. I'm asking the Englishman. Again and again. When I read his catechism, an Anglican, Christian, I said, excuse me, sir, tell me now, when you say beget, begotten son, begotten, not made, what are you trying to emphasize? Will you please explain? What are you really trying to tell me? And believe me, in 40 years, no Englishman worth his salt ever opened his mouth. No Englishman. It had to be an American. It was in a mosque. I was talking to him. I happen to be one of the guides in the largest mosque in the southern hemisphere, which is in Durban. I do a job of work, you know, where we have, last year we handled more than 12,000 tourists. And we don't just entertain them, allow them to see the sights. And so this marble came from where? From Spain. And the chandeliers came from Turkey, and the terrazzo work, and the carpet came from Persia, and the teak came from Burma. Dead things you're talking about. These people that come to our masjids, they want to know you, what you stand for, not these dead things. Because perhaps they have better dead things than these in their own home. But this is the usual practice. If you go to the Blue Mosque, you go to the Muhammad Ali Mosque in Egypt, well, the mosque in Washington, D.C., I've been there, and I see the same procedure. You know, where the marble came from, and the terrazzo came from, and the carpet came from, and the Turks did this, and rubbish, garbage. The Americans is garbage, all garbage. So I do a job of work. And in this, I talk to people, ask them questions, they ask me questions. So it happened to be an American. I was telling him, I said, look, speaking English, that's his also mother tongue, English. He's American, but he speaks English. So I said, will you tell me, when you say begotten, not made, what are you trying to emphasize? What are you trying to tell me? He said, it means, I said, what does it mean? He said, it means sired by God. Sired by God. That is the word they use in animal husbandry, you know, the type of thing they do, you know, artificial insemination and the natural processes. They said this horse was sired by that one, and that was his father, and it was sired by that one, and sired by that one. It's an animal term used in animal husbandry. I said, what? Where is it sired by? So what? He said, no, I'm only telling you what it means. I didn't say that that is what happened. You see? So, this is what it is. It's a beautiful way for you to start with your fellow countrymen. You know, when they talk about Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son, begotten, not made, because God had many sons, but those are metaphorical. See, Adam was created by God. He was not begotten. Jesus was begotten, not made. So you ask him very nicely. He says, look, we are people from the East. Maybe you are second or third generation English, British, yeah? But most of us I see are first generation people coming, and that language also betrays some bit of Pakistan or some bit of Bangladesh and some bit of Hindustan in their tongue when they speak English. It betrays to me, says, look, where you come from. I know where you come from. You see? So, for you it's so nice, so humble, in all humility. You said, sir, will you please explain? When you say begotten, not made, what are you trying to tell me? I don't understand. Will you please make it easy for me? And wallah, no Englishman will ever open his mouth. That is the best way of teaching him. The fallacy of what he's telling you. Ask him, simple question, humble question. Please explain to me what is to beget in your language. When you say begotten, not made, what are you trying to tell me? Now, this is the main reason why in Islam we say you approach Allah as an abd, as a servant, as a slave. And the slave of God is a free man. He is a free man. This idea of father and sonship, we know what it has done to the mentality of people. That familiarity they want to create with God, and what that familiarity has done to them. See, the example is there before you. In America, you see it. You see it here in Hyde Park. When I was here, I saw it on TV. 8,000 gays in London's Hyde Park advertising the way. Last June, in San Francisco, not this June, the previous June, 300,000 sodomites, which you call them gays, they gathered in San Francisco on a pilgrimage led by 50 lesbians on motorcycles. This is the type of attitude you have towards God. You know, he's like a friend to you, like your bosom pal. You know, you can behave anyhow you like with him. That awe, respect, reverence is gone. So, when you think like that, you behave like that. But now people generally ask, all these things, how do you get to all these sort of things? Which school, which university, which Darul Uloom you went to? Wallah, I went to no university, I went to no Darul Uloom. How does all these things come about? So that see, I left school at the age of 16. I passed what is called Standard 6. And I was working in a country shop, some 25 miles outside Durban, a country shop in the country. And across the valley from where the shop was an American mission called Adams Mission Station. It was an American board mission, Amanzing Toti, on the south coast. At this mission, the missionaries were being trained in comparative religion. And whatever they learned, they practiced on us in the shop. You see, I was a salesman selling sugar and salt,